Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Talking Television. Tonight, it is the series finale of Chernobyl, Episode 5, Vichnaya Pamyat. Once again, our pronunciation, I'm sure, is off, but that's the title of the episode. We are drinking our last beer for the series, and we went domestic this time.
Yeah, something a little old school.
Yeah, Coors Light. I'm sure everybody knows it. It's pretty standard.
Yeah. We usually
Nothing
drink this,
special, really.
usually drink this when we go camping or stuff like that. Yeah.
Plus, we had it on hand, so
Yes, we did.
we're drinking it tonight.
I apologize for what I'm wearing tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, I just got back from mountain biking, so this is what I look like when I go biking.
All right. So, what did you think of the series finale?
I didn't love it. We talked about this last week. I was hoping a little more, technical details of what happened, with the sarcophagus and covering it up and everything. And this episode really focused on the politics, which I think a lot more people would like to see. Just personally, myself, I wanted to see something else with it.
I agree. I wish that they did a little bit more on site, how they built the sarcophagus and all the, process they did with that. The one thing, the whole episode was primarily focused around the trial. But the one thing I did like was how, in depth and detailed they were on the process that led up to the explosion. Because I felt like the majority of the other episodes, they kind of just grazed on it. Just like, oh, how is it? They never said how it exploded. Well, all the little research and, tidbits that Pamyat had put together in her timeline, they really explain in detail on how it happened, and Legasov even has this little color-coded system he came up with.
That was hilarious.
As far as, hot items versus cold items and, how you want to keep it balanced. So I did like that. It was very detailed. I think they did a good job for non-nuclear physicists to understand.
Us, the audience, basically, yeah.
To how it happened, so.
I think they did a good job explaining it, both the human errors and, the technical design flaws, so everybody in the courtroom and us watching at home could understand. But I think they could have shrunk that down a little bit and put in a little more extra of, everything wrapping up at the site and where it sits today. They did a little bit at the end, but they just kind of glanced over it.
Yeah, I expected them to do that, do some real-life photos and videos of that. But once again, this was an extra 20 minutes or so it was an hour 20. I think at the beginning of the episode, maybe before the trial started, they could have shown them ramping up the site part of it. But we did get a little footage from before the explosion happened. In fact, it was 12 hours before everything at Chernobyl went down. And the town of, Pamyat was happy. It showed the townspeople playing outside and kids running around and cheering and having a good time. And some of the characters that we know passed away, the firefighters and whatnot, shows them, living their life. And then it kind of flashes forward to the aftermath again.
Yeah, so a lot of the other movies and documentaries I've seen all kind of start on that day or that night in the control room. And this limited series did an interesting take of waiting to show us that until the very end and explaining it as they go along.
Right.
And I think that's a little more impactful because you understand the impact of all those decisions as opposed to showing them in the first episode where you don't, some people may not quite know what happened yet. So waiting to the end to show them, I thought was a pretty good choice. Yeah,
the use of flashbacks was nice. And even starting the series the way they did with Legasov committing suicide kind of sets it up for, what happened to our main character. This is where we're going to start. Let's show you how we got here.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, what happened to this guy for this to happen?
So yeah, let's get to that point. Like we said, this episode mainly focuses around the trial of the three leaders, the ones in charge of the power plant.
Yep.
And, is it their decisions and human error that created this problem, or is it something else? Because I don't think they really, until the trial, brought up any issue of a design flaw. I think that was just new information that they kind of dropped on the audience.
Yep.
But yeah, so the three main characters that were running the plant, what happened and why this thing exploded.
Yeah, so the first one to get up and kind of give a statement is Boris, and he just kind of points out, hey, this was operator error, 100%. If it wasn't for them, this wouldn't have happened. And then we get Pamyat stands up, and she also says, this is human error. And we start seeing, the reenactment and some of the mistakes they made. But it takes until...
She sets the stage, and she leaves it up to Legasov to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
She said two things caused this. It's, mostly human error, and then, it was poisoned, basically. And then when Legasov gets up there, he explains how it can get that way. But yeah, she definitely leaves it in his lap.
Mm-hmm.
It's his court, whether or not he wants to take it all the way or not.
Yep. Yeah, but, it really kind of takes to him and really to the end of his trial run before he starts, pointing out that there was a design flaw in the RBMK reactor. But I liked his use of the big red and blue blocks, just to kind of show, hey, this is more power, this is less power, and then, it's a very good visual aid.
It was, if you were just to spit a bunch of, terms and whatnot at people, especially lay people that aren't in the field, it would have been too much, I think. But having the visual aids, like you said, was nice.
Yeah, and I think Jared Harris fucking killed it, because having to remember all of that,
there was a lot of dialogue.
That would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a very good job with that, and I think the pacing of it was done well. They didn't rush through it. They took their time,
Mm-hmm.
Which added to the length of the episode, but I think it paid off. I think by taking that extra time to lay out every single step on how it got to that boiling point, really, really nailed it.
And he calls out there's a bunch of other design flaws in the Soviet Union at the time with the same problem, and, he kind of gets ushered away from the courtroom, and they kind of lock him in a room and tell him what his future is.
Yeah, he knew it was going to happen, but
he's dying.
He's dying. His time is limited, and I think what kind of gives him that final boost of confidence to tell the truth in public is right before he does it, they have a break, and Boris is kind of coughing, and he leaves the courtroom. So during the break, Legasov goes out there, and they kind of have a heart-to-heart, and they talk a little bit about how they got there, their positions, their statures in the party, and where they work. And Boris kind of revealed that, hey, I heard it wasn't a big deal. That's why they sent me. I really never led anything before. I didn't expect much to happen in this whole situation until I got there and met you and realized the, gravity of everything. And, he's dying. He thinks he has less than a year to live.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't come out and say it right away, but kind of gives him the motivation to tell the truth and make another big change for the system.
Yeah, and Legasov kind of gives him some respect back by saying, you were really the guy that got this done. Anytime we needed machinery, we needed human power, anything else, you got it done for us. And
when some of the other party members that they could have sent wouldn't have done that necessarily.
Yeah, they might not have done that, and it could have been a bigger disaster. So,
yeah, that little heart-to-heart they have, I think, is what gave him that ultimate courage to stand up and say the truth, knowing it was his downfall.
But I think the best actor of the scene was the caterpillar that came crawling along.
Yeah.
And we were chatting. We were wondering, was this just a random caterpillar they found and incorporated, or did they have to hire somebody to bring it from a zoo?
What was their caterpillar budget?
Yeah. Stand by, make sure it wasn't harmed in the filming, and then transport it back. Did they have backup caterpillars on hand?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of logistics that went into that scene.
That was pre-beer, by the way. So afterwards, Legasov, he gets ushered over to that room, and they pretty much tell him, hey, you're going to keep your title, but you're not going to work as a scientist anymore. Yeah,
we're not going to kill you. We're not going to give you the bullet because you're too public now.
Too public now, definitely.
It'd look bad for us, not the fact that we're going to kill, an innocent person, for telling the truth and trying to save people's lives. No, that's not the point. We're not going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't want us to look bad.
Right.
That's the state's position on it. But yeah, we're going to basically, have you do the walk of shame. You're going to not be able to talk to any more of your colleagues. You're not going to be able to perform any more experiments. Like, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Secluded almost.
Yeah, and if we think back to the first episode where he's in his, house or apartment, and he's doing the recordings, he's still being watched by the KGB, up until the day that he hangs himself. So
they kept true. I wonder what the time frame was from the trial date to when he ultimately killed himself.
Well, the trial was in 1987. And he killed himself, 2 years after? So
it was in 1988. So
give or take a year. Yeah,
less than a year. So it took him some time, but eventually I think he came to the realization that he couldn't put up with it anymore, or that was his final, public statement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make these tapes, put out the truth, and then to get it known and heard, this is the way I'm going to go out. Kind of his last hurrah.
Yeah, and then after that, we get I think a very touching tribute and ending, kind of showing what happened to everybody, not only characters on the show, but the number of people killed, the exclusion zone. We do get a little bit about the new sarcophagus that's supposed to last another 100 years. Yep. I thought that was very well done at the end.
Yeah, it was nice to see the actual footage of the real life characters, and I think casting wise they did a really good job, just visually for all the characters involved, making
Mm-hmm.
it look the same and mannerisms be the same. But we see the real life Legasov. They kind of, what we had touched upon before is it was a kind of a cast of different researchers and scientists that they had Pamyat based on. It wasn't just one individual.
Yeah, she was like a composite character.
But she was like a composite character.
Yep.
Just to represent all the backing that Legasov had at his disposal.
Mm-hmm. Overall, what did you think about this limited series?
Well, I thought they did a very good job for covering the Chernobyl. The director of it and writer, I know he put in lots of years of research to get all the details right, and I think it pays off.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of the best fictionalized documentaries I've seen on it, and I believe it's the highest rated show on IMDb overall.
People are loving this.
People are really digging it.
Yep, and we love all of you guys coming back every week to listen, see what we think about the show. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really well done. I really liked the clothing, and the cars were very, reminiscent of the time. And that's one thing I think nowadays gets done very well on a lot of shows, is they make sure they have period correct cars, period correct clothing. You don't have a lot of mix-ups like that. Craig Mazin, though, I think he's going to have, a lot of offers after this. He's not going to be writing Hangover 2 and 3 anymore. He's going to have some big gigs.
Yeah, he does. He's currently working on the new Charlie's Angels.
Yep.
So we'll see how that comes out.
Yeah, that has interesting stars in it. So I think that could actually be a lot better than the last, early 2000 ones.
But yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a good stepping stone for him for future projects. Overall, 5 episodes, very limited run. They crammed a lot of information into that 5 episodes.
Yep.
And obviously you have to cherry pick what you're going to talk about. We discussed that we'd like to see, more of the rebuilding process on site, but they chose to focus on, the trial and that part of it, which was also necessary. I think it would have been better to have a 10 episode run. They could have maybe shown everything in its full glory, but for 5 episodes, I think it was a pretty phenomenal show.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hardest episode for me to watch was episode 4 with killing the animals.
Yeah, that was tough.
Besides that, I think they did a great job with pacing and informative content and phenomenal acting.
Very, very good acting. Yeah, the cast they picked was great.
Mm-hmm.
The tone of it, the music, it was suspenseful.
Yeah, very eerie.
You know, a lot of the endings were suspenseful, where they would have the dosimeters going up and up and up as they got into more danger, and then it would just cut to silence for the credits. Yeah, that was a nice editing choice on how they did that.
Especially with a lot of shows nowadays being released all at once, like Netflix and Amazon. I think they kind of need, a big impact like that for you to come back next week. And it was smart, I think, to put this on the tailcoat of Game of Thrones and keeping their subscriptions going.
Yeah, for sure. Into the next big one. So yeah, this one's wrapping up for us, and there's plenty more shows on the way. So
yeah, we also have a season finale of Warrior this week.
Yes,
so that's going to be season 1, episode 10. I'm excited for that one too.
That's going to be a big one, and then we're going to be starting some new shows. So
yeah. Next week we got one.
We do. So if you guys want to see what's in store for us, please subscribe, and it'll pop up in your feed. We got a couple more shows coming up in the near future. So
yep. Otherwise, thanks for joining us, and grab a course, and come back next week.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.